A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a move that has sparked outrage across the political spectrum, the Trump administration has announced a new refugee policy that sets the lowest admission cap in U.S. history. The decision, revealed in a notice published on the Federal Register, allows only 7,500 refugees into the United States for the fiscal year 2026, a staggering decrease from the previous administration's cap of 125,000. Most notably, the new policy prioritizes white South Africans, particularly Afrikaner farmers, under the guise of addressing humanitarian and national interest concerns. This shift has drawn sharp criticism from human rights organizations and political leaders alike, who argue that it redefines persecution through a racially biased lens. The announcement has triggered a wave of backlash, with Amnesty International condemning the decision as a blatant act of racial discrimination. The organization stated, "This decision redefines persecution through a racial lens, highlighting the potential implications for other persecuted groups around the world." The International Rescue Committee echoed these sentiments, labeling the policy as one of the darkest moments in U.S. refugee policy. Critics argue that by focusing primarily on white South Africans, the administration is turning its back on refugees from war-torn regions such as Afghanistan, Sudan, Haiti, and Gaza, who may now face indefinite delays or outright denials under the new quota system. This has raised serious legal questions regarding the Refugee Act of 1980, which prohibits discrimination based on race, religion, or national origin in the refugee admission process. Civil rights attorneys are already discussing potential lawsuits to challenge this controversial decision. In response to the announcement, South Africa's government has rejected the notion that white farmers are victims of government-sponsored discrimination. Officials in Pretoria have described the policy as offensive and deeply misleading, arguing that it distorts the truth for political gain. The South African ambassador to the U.S., Ebrahim Rasool, was expelled after accusing Trump of mobilizing a supremacism and projecting white victimhood as a dog whistle. Democratic lawmakers in Congress have labeled the policy as inhumane and un-American, while some Republican officials have defended it as a necessary measure for national security and cultural preservation. This division highlights the growing polarization around immigration and refugee issues in the United States. The policy's announcement comes at a time when the U.S. is witnessing a significant increase in global refugee crises, with millions of people displaced due to conflict, persecution, and natural disasters. Critics argue that the decision to limit refugee admissions to such a low number, while prioritizing one racial group, undermines the very purpose of the U.S. refugee system and diminishes the country's moral standing on the global stage. As the fallout from this decision continues, many are left wondering about the future of the U.S. refugee program and the implications for those seeking safety and a new life in America. The Trump administration's new policy marks a significant departure from the values of inclusivity and support for the world's most vulnerable populations, raising alarms about the direction of U.S. immigration policy under this administration. In summary, the Trump administration's latest refugee policy has ignited a firestorm of criticism from human rights advocates, political leaders, and legal experts. With only 7,500 spots available for refugees in 2026, the focus on white South Africans raises profound ethical and legal questions about race and discrimination in the refugee admission process. As the country grapples with this controversial decision, the impact on those fleeing violence and persecution remains to be seen. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.